There used to be a time when I considered documentaries to be boring, more for older people than for a youngster like me. I guess I'm disappointing my younger self as I actually grew into a pretty big documentary fan. The true crime docuseries started me on this journey, but it's actually the feature-length documentaries that have grown even fonder of me. And Netflix keep releasing more and more. Which of these should you get into? By the by, I'm the movie guy, and let's rank the 7 documentaries that Netflix have released thus far in 2022. Number 7, The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, The Unheard Tapes. While the other projects might have something to cling onto, The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe has almost no redeeming qualities. That is such a hard way to start this ranking. We follow Anthony Summer, the writer of Goddess, a book about Marilyn, as he narrates and shows off his tapes that inspired him to do the book. This is a speculative film. It does not offer any new or substantial evidence into Marilyn's death. It tries to stir things up by trying to create some sort of conspiracy, and it's not that good at doing even that. I actually found it boring. I wasn't a fan of the production design either. Netflix does like to greenlight everything though. Number 6, White Hot, The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. The 2 latest released documentaries are on the bottom end of this list, but White Hot is not unwatchable. With a brilliant cutout aesthetic, music that transports you back into a certain time and place, White Hot tells the story of how Abercrombie and Fitch became one of the most sought after brands by selling homoerotic imagery to hetero audiences. It's also a story of racism, interesting fashion techniques, and of Mike Jeffries, the then owner of A&B. There's some harassment allegations, a cool throwback to a Spider-Man bully wearing A&B, but it does feel like there are some things missing, things that should have been more analyzed, like consumer culture and the role of social media in this A&B mess. Number 5, Return to Space. It's interesting to see these 3 documentaries released 3 weeks apart and how different they are. Not just the subject in question, but production-wise too. Return to Space follows SpaceX, the company directed by Elon Musk and that is partnered with NASA and their mission of sending 2 astronauts to the International Space Station. It's a cool insight into the backstory of SpaceX. We see how they got started. There's interesting interviews with the 2 astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, who were launched by SpaceX. There's some interviews with Elon Musk. There's some intensity. It makes us excited about the future of space traveling. It's a great watch, but the only reason why it is down in number 5 is that it just feels like it's idolizing Musk, making it feel less objective than it should feel. Number 4, 11M, Terror in Madrid. This was so personal. 11M tells the story of the worst terrorist attack in European history. The attack on the 11th of March 2004 in Madrid unravels political crises as the hunt is on for those responsible. Survivors of the crash give their accounts as to what happened on that day, as well as families of those who perished. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. It truly was so personal to see everyone talking about that horrific day. But the story does not stop here, as Spain divides when the government insists that the perpetrators were ETA, while the people believed it was Al-Qaeda, the ones who actually took responsibility for the event. This influenced the election, which took place only a couple of days after the attack. This documentary took me by surprise. Number 3, Downfall, the case against Boeing. These next 3 were my favorite documentaries and I consider them must-see. So this documentary is about 2 planes crashing, both being Boeing's new model, the 737 MAX, which sounds like a new iPhone model in a couple of years. 346 people were killed. Boeing blamed the 2 pilots, claimed that American pilots would not have crashed the plane, but the investigation into these 2 events showed that Boeing were not upfront with the 737 MAX. This was a great documentary. It showed great accounts into the tragedies, but also did a great job at showing Boeing's background and the world context and what made them make the 737 MAX. Ultimately, it was a great investigative piece. Number 2, The Tinder Swindler. When this documentary came out in February, it broke headlines, and it was very, very good. Shimon Hayut posed as Simon Leviev on Tinder, and he wooed multiple women and convinced them to loan him a lot of money. I've seen some memes regarding this story, all of them are hilarious. The interviews and the presentation were so on point. I really like the structure as this documentary gets more and more shocking as it progresses. Another thing that it does well is showing the bad guy, the victims which want payback, and how the way that this bad guy does his scams and how that's a problem for the police to stop. Ultimately, there is a great message here and trying to bring the bad guy to light. Number 1, Trust No One, The Hunt for the Crypto King. This documentary had me on the edge of my seat. A great story about a couple of sleuths who were scammed off their Bitcoin by a man named Jerry Cotton, whose death they found suspicious. They believed that he ran away with their money. But the actual story is so much more than that. The stories of the people that were scammed are interesting, the interviews and presentation is top notch, the mystery is just so entertaining. You couldn't write this as fantasy. Plus, there is the added intrigue of a character wearing a freaking fox mask with a voice modulator. The guy looked cool as hell. This was the best documentary released thus far, at least in my opinion. Which of these documentaries are you planning on watching? Let me know down in the comments. While you are there, press that like and subscribe button. Press the bell to get notifications every time my videos get uploaded. And until next time, keep on watching movies, guys.